Rhea Ripley just sustained a massive injury with an orbital bone injury actually, and now Rhea's gonna be gone for some time. Now, this is the second injury she sustained, legitimate injury, so this is bad news for her, and you can't imagine what it's like going through a big injury like that and not knowing roughly when you're gonna be back, especially when you are getting like, it's almost WrestleMania season, so you're kind of getting into the thick of the stories, and we could all clearly tell that we knew somewhat of the direction they were headed in, where we could have had, and we still might have it, but an intergender match between Dom and Rhea, and then obviously the blow-off match between Liv and Rhea for the world title. Now, I do believe that this is all still going to happen one way or another. We don't know how long she's going to be out for. She could come back and she could wear the Undertaker mask where she's going to just have everything covered up, and they could do that in a couple of months maybe. But if she has to recover and stay off TV, to me, the best thing is, just as a fan, is just keep her off TV until she's totally healthy. Now, there's a lot of rumors and people will say that, you know, she could come back by the Royal Rumble, and she very well could. I could totally see her coming in to the Rumble and just coming in at number 30, throw out Raquel or anybody else in the ring, and Rhea wins the Rumble. Because then she doesn't have to take any bumps. She could simply just dodge a little strike and then get tossed out, and then you're moving on to WrestleMania. And she could just simply do promos, and that's a long road, but she could do promos after Rumble, Chamber, and then just do the one match at Mania. Now, the injuries seem to have happened when they were on Monday Night Raw and she did a headbutt, and that's at least what the internet is saying, is that's when it happened. It's just one of those fluke things that is just unfortunate. So right now, there is no definitive time frame of when she's gonna come back. If they can get her to recover to some degree and keep her off until Rumble, I can totally see that being the big move. You could have a surprise return at Elimination Chamber, and she could enter a chamber match and win the whole thing to be #1 contender. Now that Rhea is going to be out of the picture for quite some time, now we gotta see what else they're going to do. Now, I will say this, when a big star gets injured, the only silver lining with all of this is that sometimes other people stand up, and then there's other storylines that emerge out of it that are really awesome. Sometimes you get surprised by other people that step up, that get thrusted into a main event spot, and then you get to see some really cool things happen. There are some goods, but there's also some critiques I have with all of this. What I mean is the women's division in WWE, because on Monday Night Raw specifically, you have this Rhea injury. You don't have anybody else in the women's division that is ready, that is another baby face, that can step up instantaneously and get into Rhea's spot. And what I really mean is that you haven't built other baby faces into the world title scene, and it's only been Rhea and Liv. So this entire time, you are kind of banking on this being the story. This is the A story for the women's side, and hoping that no one gets injured, nothing bad happens. Well, we got hit with an injury, so now they have to pivot. If this is a short-term injury, and by short-term I mean she can get back before WrestleMania, awesome. They only have to pivot and maneuver for a few months, and WWE's done this. Look at CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. They went like a year with Punk being injured, and they were able to tell this whole story. So this isn't new. WWE can make it work. You can have Rhea come out and do promos and vignettes and pre-recorded stuff, and you could still even do just the beatdown, as long as no one takes any shots to the head. But this is one of the problems I have with WWE's women's division and on Raw not building anybody else up, because now that Rhea is out of the picture for a while, who within storyline can WWE realistically have step up and take on Liv for the world title? Because they could do a number of things here, and that's the big question mark. And guys, comment below, what do you think WWE should do, and what do you think they will do? Will they wait, or will they add in new people? So they could do the simplest thing, which is we'll run a tournament. Now within storyline, Rhea's not like #1 contender for the title. Liv doesn't like wrestle on Raw ever for the belt or do anything else other than just doing the beatdown moments. But who's gonna step up to Liv Morgan and have it be of consequence? You're gonna roll up Zelina Vega, Io Sky, maybe Natalya. Like, you see the problem here? If you actually ran through the women's division on Raw, everyone is in a faction, or they are in their own storyline. Also, WWE, for the short term anyways, has a 2-hour block. And there's goods and bads with that, but one of the pitfalls of it is a lack of TV time. And so they only put the A stories and the main pieces on TV every week, as they should, but it does mean that Pure Fusion Collective doesn't get on TV. I haven't seen them in like a month now. Other stars don't get the TV time. And even after WrestleMania, and let's assume Rhea comes back and Mania 41, they have their title match, Rhea wins, she finally gets that title back, and then what? It's, to me, there's still the same problem. You haven't built any other women up to be on their level. You need to go through a big draft, in my opinion, to really shuffle the deck. But for the interim, who else is going to be there? I got a couple of options here of what they could do. Number one, they could bring back Becky Lynch. Now, by all reports out there, Becky Lynch's contract was up with WWE, / she's taking time off. We don't know, but Becky is not on TV. She's gone right now. And the last time Becky Lynch was on TV, she had the steel cage match against Liv Morgan, and they were going after. Becky won the world title on Raw, and then they pivoted and they put it on Liv Morgan. It was all because Rhea was injured again. So it actually feels like they could possibly do the exact same thing once again. You just break glass, and not Stone Cold, but you bring out Becky Lynch. If Becky can come back, you do have an immediate feud that you can thrust back onto Raw. You have a main event player in Becky Lynch. You have that star power that you're going to be missing with Rhea Ripley, and you can kind of continue the feud. You can just kind of insert Becky Lynch. You could even do a quick little storyline moment, backstage thing, where you play up the injury of Rhea Ripley. You could have Rhea get on the phone or call Becky basically in storyline, and then come out to the ring and say, I'm injured, like my orbital bone is broken, so I need somebody else. I had to call on some friends and get some help, and then boom, Becky comes out, and then Becky goes and fights Liv. And then you have Liv, Raquel, and you can kind of continue the storyline without Rhea Ripley. The other thing too that's going on is that Judgment Day is cold, in my opinion. They ain't doing a lot. There's little things of like Finn Balor being frustrated, Dom's getting a title match. You can see the cracks are all in there, but like Damian Priest lost to Dom with a roll up. So I don't even know what Damian Priest is doing. Rhea is now injured. Things are cooling off with Judgment Day as a whole. If you put Becky in there, at least they have something to refocus on. And if you need 6 weeks, 8 weeks, couple of months even, you can get to the Royal Rumble and you can have Rhea make the return there if possible. So even if you got Becky for like 3 months, it's good enough, and you could get through a couple of title matches. You could do something at Survivor Series where it's going to be Becky versus Liv. You could do something where it's like Liv has to, if they want to do War Games, and that's the other thing here is like War Games is coming up. They haven't announced any War Games matches, obviously, but we assume Bloodline is one of them. Are they going to do some kind of Judgment Day War Games or the Women's War Games match where maybe you're going to have Liv, Raquel, and they recruit a few other people like Pure Fusion Collective versus Team Becky, where they're going to have Becky and I don't even know who else, but she would have to go and recruit her team and take them on. It'd be so mashed and thrown together, but they need to do something. Or maybe it's a one-on-one match, Becky and Liv at Survivor Series. Okay, other names they could insert, they could pivot with here. It's not perfect. One thing they could do is you could surprise everybody and you could have Tiffany Stratton cash in on Liv Morgan. Tiffany is a heel, yes, but she is so kind of tweener in the middle because Nia Jax is the big dominant heel and she's got Tiffany under her thumb. They could, if they really need more time, you could make the shift because everyone's like, we all have the story thrown at us that Tiffany's going after Nia's title. Like that's what they keep positioning. It's the Money in the Bank. She can cash in on anybody. So I don't know why they wouldn't even want to flirt with that idea. You could do it at Crown Jewel. You could do it at Survivor Series, Rumble, but you could have Tiffany Stratton cash in on Liv, costing her the belt. I mean, you could even combine things. You could have Becky come back, resume the story with Liv, Tiffany cashes in, Tiffany wins the belt, and now you've got a fresh new dynamic of Becky, Tiffany, and Liv all trying to go with the title. Then you might be saying, okay, well then what? Then it's gonna be Tiffany at Mania? It could be Tiffany and Liv and Rhea, multi-woman match, or you're gonna pivot everything. But it would be a good shocker, and Money in the Bank doesn't have to be tied just to Nia's title, the WWE Women's Championship. Now, the last option I do have in here, I don't know how it would work other than they're just like, we need star power and we need to throw somebody in there, kind of like Becky, but Charlotte Flair. If Charlotte is ready, I totally see her going over to SmackDown and resuming feuds over there with the likes of Bayley and Nia, and even doing Tiffany Stratton match. If they need star power and they can't get Becky, Charlotte is somebody you could pivot and put on Raw. And it would make sense in terms of like the respect storyline of Rhea and Charlotte. They had their match at WrestleMania, and you could do, like I said with Becky, you could do that with Charlotte, where Rhea has to call up Charlotte Flair and say, I need some help. and Charlotte comes in to kind of fight for the honor of Rhea Ripley against Liv Morgan. Problem there is that it just feels like Charlotte would just dummy Liv. But you could do a cool back and forth for a few months of Charlotte and Liv going for the title. And if you do nothing, then you're just sitting around waiting for months, and they can't do that. It's getting into the prime WWE season. Once Survivor Series hits, you are nowadays, they're on the road to WrestleMania. And like we heard last year with Triple H and Creative, they had ironed out the plans for WrestleMania by October, by Survivor Series. They had the pieces in place for what they wanted to do for WrestleMania. The road to WrestleMania to me is not the Royal Rumble anymore. It's Survivor Series. But with Rhea being injured, really does mess up the plans a little bit.